such good shit.
Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps, it is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man who always thinks he can. What's that? And champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back in the yard streams for another episode of the Smackdown breakdown presented to you by Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show, where we take no nights off. And you can't have Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show without the best of the West. You can't forget about Sarah Marshall. What's popping, girl?
Hey, yo.
Hey.
Hey, yo. What's popping? How we doing?
We're doing okay. I'm really hungry, but it's like...
Well, do you want a chicken sandwich from Davio's?
Well, I already said that. Did you not hear me? I said to
I
said, Mama Pitts, I want one too.
I
said,
did not hear
mine.
that. Sorry, I was too caught up in the mix of being told.
I heard her say French fries, and I was like, where?
I
I love French fries. It's one of those things where I don't eat a lot of actual meals. I just kind of eat whatever I want, which is part of my problem.
Oh, that is an issue.
So I crave meals. Because I'm like, wow, like a chicken parm sounds really good right now.
Oh, I see my eating schedule is so effed up because of my work schedule. So I don't eat until like I get, as we know, being up so early.
Yeah.
And I don't eat. I'll have like a coffee and a Rockstar, and then I get home at like 2:30, 3 o'clock. That's when I eat. And then I carbo load between pretty much 3 and whenever I fall asleep with 2 meals, and then snacking, whatnot. Like today, this was good though, Sarah. The best part about working with, Latino people, is
they bring you free food.
Not only that, they find unbelievable food.
Oh yeah,
we had this great place today where it was just meat and rice in 2 different sheet pans. It was absolutely delicious. Like we had like beef, steak, scallops, shrimp, all that in one, and rice. It was, and then like this paella thing with
I don't want to. I can't talk about food anymore, man.
No, we can't. We can't talk about food because then our stomachs will grumble, and we can't. Actually, it's funny. I'm eating a chicken parm grinder right now. It's sandwich, David.
I know that's the only reason. A sub. It's a sub. This is why I tell you he's from fake Mass. Like nobody
in Massachusetts calls it grinder.
I've had this argument with him before because I was like, I think it was it's one of those tests that's like based off your answers we can tell like where you're from or like whatever. And so it'll be like, what do you call a long sandwich from Subway or something, and it has all these different options, and it's because it's like New England, the South, the West Coast, whatever. And grinder was on there, and I remember I asked my mom, because my mom lived in Massachusetts longer than me. Obviously she was there for like 35 years. And so she was like, oh yeah, that's like something that some people say, but it's more like Philly or like Western Mass or whatever. I remember telling David, I was like, no, it's not. It's a sub.
Hoagie or hero. When someone calls it a hero, I'm like, what are you eating? Iron Man? Like,
yeah,
Spider-Man?
no.
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
I've heard hoagie, but still, it's a sub, man. I would never go to a place in like Boston and be like, give me a grinder. They'd be like, the fuck?
It's a sub.
Yeah, it's a sub. It's a submarine sandwich. But anyway,
Anyway, David, what's up to you? Kingdom of Razor's here and has a question. We'll answer that obviously as the show goes on. Or sub, whatever. But yeah, we're here to talk Smackdown. Smackdown last night, pretty decent episode. Not gonna lie, a lot happened. A lot of people came out. A lot of people may have returned, whatnot, So it's definitely interesting, to say the least. It feels like Smackdown is getting to that point where the 2 hours definitely feels jammed, but in a good way. They really compact everything so well that it flies by.
Yeah, I think so, it does sometimes. Other times I'm like, it's dragging on. But I mean, I've talked about it before where I don't think it would be a bad idea to make SmackDown 3 hours as well. Especially when you think about the number of people that are going to be coming up from NXT and you know, the idea of adding them to an already like full roster on both shows. It just feels like, okay, obviously somebody is going to be kicked to the curb or something because they're not going to be able to shine a light in all of these people, you know, because there's just not enough time. So it's like, it wouldn't be a bad idea, especially now that it's live on Fridays. Like, it's not a bad idea to make it longer. Because I mean, even Raw, you know, we've talked about how it's better that there is a continuous story throughout the entire show, and there's more of the backstage segments like it used to be, which is great.
Love it. I
But
love it so
because
much.
they're utilizing that again, that takes time away from other people too. Because, like, you know, maybe if you combine all the backstage segments, it might combine for like 10 minutes. Well, that could have been a match. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like these people that are coming up from NXT, a lot of them are going to deserve to be showcased and not just falling, you know, like being in catering, you know,
Yeah,
and it's like,
exactly.
I think they're going to get to a position where they might have to go to 3 hours, but who knows? Because if that Raw felt like that for a really long time and it took them forever to actually do it. So,
And yeah, it took them forever. And then once they did, it was like, well, how are they going to do it? How are
well,
they going to fill 3 hours? And
and at first it was horrific. There
it
was just
was
like, oh
bad.
my God, this is 3 hours. But now it's like, oh my God, it's only 3 hours, you know? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that it's gonna get to a point where they're gonna want to have more time on SmackDown, but
Agreed.
I don't know. But anyway, we can just jump right into SmackDown. Might as
Jump
well.
right into it. Yeah.
So we have Paul Heyman kick off SmackDown, which is, I mean, I know it was like last week, I think, but I love how he like allowed his gray to just shine through for a little bit, and then it was like, nope, I brought out that like, what is it?
Just for men.
Yeah, just for men.
You did Bosley?
Yeah,
You
I
did
was
the
like,
Bosley. Yeah,
I was like, I mean, I thought he was just gonna be like, hey, yeah, you know, I'm 50 something years old, but hey, you know, he's got some hair left. He probably still wants it to like look like it used
he
to,
wants
I
to
guess.
look
I don't know.
good. Yeah, he wants to look a little younger, you know.
I guess. So he comes out and he actually compliments Jimmy for what he did on Raw in making sure that Jay and Cody lost the tag team championships and that the Judgment Day won it. And I thought that was interesting because it was kind of a bit of a change from how he has been discussing Jimmy or just the vibe that he's been giving Jimmy. I mean, even throughout the rest of the show, Paul did not look overly enthused with Jimmy throughout the evening. So it was interesting that they kicked the show off with him being very complimentary of him.
Yeah, it's hilarious in the sense that it feels like a it's not that he doesn't care about Jimmy. You could tell that that's not it. But Jimmy's energy is so over the top that it's just so much for Heyman, especially when he deals with Roman Reigns and Solo.
And so, yeah, you don't deal with Solo though. Like he's
Solo's
just like a mannequin
statue.
in the corner. Yeah. And that's what I love about Jimmy's character development, because I feel he was kind of put in a really awkward situation, as we've talked about before, where Jay basically blew up on the scene once Jimmy was injured, and so Jay was like propelled in this like main event role, hence the name Main Event Jey Uso, and he got so over. And then they were going with the idea of them splitting up, going to different shows, whatever. And so Jimmy was having to try and figure out a way to differentiate himself enough from Jay to stand out, but then to also get over. And obviously he's doing it in a different way now because he's the bad guy, whereas Jay is not. But I feel like even though he does bad things, he's very likable. And that's because he has such an infectious personality, and it's cool to see that. Like Jay does too. We saw it in the press conference with Cody Rhodes, but he keeps that in check. Like on a regular basis on Raw. Like you don't really see that from him. So it does have like a nice contrast between each other. So it does allow you to kind of enjoy Jimmy just in a different way.
That I'll save my comments about the backstage segment for when we get to Solo and whatnot. But when he was just touchdown,
Yeah.
like, oh my
I
god,
know.
it was awesome. Very, very relatable there.
So Paul then continues and he talks about the report from, I think he said it was the LA Times, that outed the fact that yes, Roman Reigns will face LA Knight at Crown Jewel for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. And that was cool because we were like, all right. I mean, I think we all assumed that it was happening, but I guess, and this is the thing, do you ever wonder, how did the LA Times get it? Like, did WWE give it to them and like wanted them to go with it? Or like, how did this go down? Because that's so random. Like, it wasn't like TMZ, but even with TMZ, you're kind of like, okay, who's the mole? Like, who's telling you this, you know?
There are moles everywhere.
I just wonder if it's on purpose sometimes, you know?
I think this one was done purposefully.
Yeah.
Because of who Roman's opponent is and
Mm-hmm.
the news outlet that broke it.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted that little detail. LA
Yeah.
Knight, and it's reported by the LA Times. Yeah.
Well, and I think that Roman also kind of like garners that type of attention now. So it's like it makes sense that they would want it to be talked about before the show because he's kind of a star in his own right. I mean, I feel like he's not as identifiable to just a normal casual fan as like John Cena, Hulk Hogan. Like he's not quite there yet. But I mean, obviously he's been champion for so long. I think people do recognize him a little bit, maybe more than they normally would. I don't know how to explain it, but
no, I get what you mean. I'm with you.
Sorry, my cat was just making a really weird noise. Sometimes she does this when she's about to puke. So, but anyway, okay, getting back.
Fluids going all over.
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah. Okay. Just to explain, she pooped on me, guys. Yeah. So anyway,
real heel move out of her.
Yeah, it was weird.
That means a real heel.
So he talks about that, the match at Crown Jewel, and he says, you know, when it comes to LA Knight, like I'm a fan, just like all of you. And I even told him that when we met him when I met him for the first time, I shook his hand. And, you know, I told him, like, I'm such a big fan. I love what you do, blah, blah, blah. But he said, you know what, guys? The last time you see him is going to be at Crown Jewel because Roman is just going to completely dismantle him, blah, blah, blah. And that was when LA Knight was like, oh, you were talking about me? Okay, I'm following that rule. So here I am. And I mean, okay. So he goes in on Paul Heyman and
over here.
For everything basically that Heyman said, it was just back and forth, calling him an idiot, calling him stupid. Says that Roman sent what looks like a warning shot to him with that spear last week, but that did nothing for him because he doesn't send warning shots. And he says that he's going to go after Roman until he wins that title. And then they talk about how there is going to be a contract signing next week. So, first of all, really cool to see LA Knight start the show and have that moment with Paul Heyman because we knew like there was conflict, like as I said on the show yesterday, there was conflicting reports about whether or not Roman was going to be on Smackdown. Obviously, the people that were saying, oh yeah, they said he were wrong because I was like, I'm almost 99% certain he wasn't.
Back-to-back shows, not in this era. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's way too much work for Roman.
But I think that it's another indication of how they feel about LA Knight because they did the same thing with Cody when Roman wasn't showing up or whatever, and Cody was basically feuding with Paul Heyman, and they had some really, really good segments. I mean, Paul Heyman even kind of alluded to that. So the fact that this was their first real interaction in this type of way, he couldn't have done a better job. And I mean, LA Knight, like he could not have killed it any more than he did.
I absolutely agree. To put him in that stage or in that spotlight, to go toe to toe with Paul Heyman on the mic and have Paul be really just shaking in his boots And
Mhm.
the moment that stands out to me is when he's asking Paul the question and trying to egg him to say yeah, and he won't
Mhm.
do it. But the crowd, every time he asks it, is just getting louder and louder with the yeah. And
Mhm.
finally, it's like, yeah, it's
He's like,
so unreal.
"Yeah." "Yeah." And then he's like, "Shut up, stupid." Like it's like, "Oh,
Don't do
right."
that.
Yeah.
Don't do that while I'm talking. Oh, it was
Mhm.
just it's incredible to see someone that over that organically.
Yeah, and he did it on his own. So, and it's funny because I was just reading this some excerpts from an EC3 interview and like a recent one, and he was talking about his time on the original NXT, like when NXT was like a program and not, because there was still FCW at the time. So this was when, his pro was Daniel Bryan. Oh my god, gold. I still have to send you some of that. And he was saying that, at that point nobody gave a shit about NXT. Like it wasn't taken seriously, and he was saying like the writers and stuff like didn't care about doing anything. They didn't write anything for us. Like there was just no structure, there was nothing. And he said so then we kind of just went out there and did what we wanted to do. And he's like and some of it started working, and he talked about, some of the stuff with him and Daniel Bryan. And he said and then we started to get over, and the people in the back were pissed. And he was like saying how, they were so mad that they were actually able to do something that was catching the attention of the crowd, that they didn't necessarily like say horrible things to them, but obviously they were pissed off. And it just reminds me of like, because he of course, much like what we think, he was saying it doesn't
Mhm.
make any sense. Like you're in the business of getting
Yeah,
over,
you should be happy
so
and
it
all
doesn't make
that.
any sense. And so it just reminds me that it feels like if LA Knight were not brought up from NXT in the Triple H era, he would have been gone like
Always.
months ago. Like he would not be in this position. And it's sad because like Vince is just that type of dude, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I don't think it makes really any sense to anybody, but
No.
he's so fortunate that he came back at the time that he did, and that now he is the guy that he's always was meant to be, because if this
Yeah.
were the Vince era, we'd be talking about him in Impact or something, because
We'd be talking about Eli Drake, not LA Knight.
yeah, or maybe I guess if he went to AEW, but I still don't think he would be LA Knight, you know what I mean?
And
Like
he
it
wouldn't be as over in AEW
yeah.
with their he is a WWE guy.
Oh
He
yeah.
is a WWE talent. You can tell for sure when you look at him. I mean, the best example, just a quick example, would be like a Jade Cargo, like just
Mhm.
not being utilized to her fullest, potential in AEW. Now coming
They
into WWE, they are really building her up, and everyone could say that they're not utilizing her right away and all these teases. It's a good thing. When
well,
you're being
and
treated like this to start, it's a good thing.
Tony Khan is going to kick himself in the ass for years over letting her go. I mean, the fact that people are already saying she deserves to be in a Mania match um against like Charlotte or Bianca or whatever, she hasn't even had a match yet. And most people haven't even seen her in a match because a lot of like WWE fans are hardcore WWE fans and they don't entertain what's going on the other side.
Mhm.
So like the fact that these people are excited about Jade and she hasn't even done anything for them just kind of tells you the star power that she holds. Because like if you're super unfamiliar with her, then what are you excited about?
Mhm. Agreed.
Um, but anyway, okay, then we got into the first match of the night, which was Santos Escobar versus Montez Ford. Obviously, the LWO and the Suit Profits were on the ringside as well. And this match, what I wrote was it served its purpose, and the purpose was that Montez really needed a win, and that's exactly what happened. The Suit Profits then jump Escobar after the match, which again is something that needed to be done because they're trying to come off as like these more aggressive dudes, and so that fit. And then we get Carlito come out, and what a pop for Carlito. Um,
Didn't
and
think
so
of
he comes
yeah.
out with a steel chair to help his his buddies, the LWO. And that just made me question if do you feel like they're using Carlito in the right way so far?
Yes. Um, in this current climate of WWE talent, if he went right into his old gimmick and was a standalone singles guy,
Mhm.
to me, he'd get lost in the shuffle
Mhm.
because there is a lot going on right now. But right now, you need to have Carlito attach himself to the LWO to give them legitimacy and make them into, a faction where it's not just Ray and up and comers.
Yeah.
It's Ray, Carlito, and up and comers now. And
Yeah.
it's, makes them more of a legitimate threat as a faction.
Mhm.
And I mean, I didn't think I'd see Carlito getting big pops or even in WWE in
I know.
2023. That's a little bit of nonsense to me, but in a good way.
Mhm.
It's nice to see. It's there's a lot that they can do with him there, and it's not that they're not utilizing him in the right way. It's a slow burn again. They
See,
brought
for
him
me,
back. You need to have him in the LWO. You need to be or have him doing something. So put him in the LWO because it gets him on TV, but also keeps the LWO relevant
mhm,
on TV, gets some airtime, and then keeps selling the merch.
I think that they need to have him more present because basically they have him as like a secret right now. It's like, oh, he's going to be the mystery partner that comes in and like help save the LWO. And then like we knew that Ray wasn't going to be coming out with the LWO last on Smackdown because he was going to be talking to Logan Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, why can't we see Carlito in these backstage segments with the LWO, or why does he have to be kind of like a surprise to come out and help them? I just think that we need to see him more active. Give him a match, like have him do something, and maybe that's coming. I mean, I know
I
it's
mean,
still
yeah,
early,
yeah,
but I just would hate to see them kind of drop the ball with a guy like Carlito because I mean other than the fact that that would suck, he also was sitting on the bench for months until you decided, oh, okay, now's the time we're going to have you return. You know what I mean?
I wonder why they kept him on the bench for so long. That's the one
I,
thing that confuses me
yeah.
because
I
they could
think
have
it's,
brought him out like months ago.
but see, this is the thing that I think is what is a little bit interesting about Triple H and the difference between him and Vince McMahon is I think that Triple H really tries to have, in certain cases, like solid plans for people, and that's why he'll hold off on involving them in a story, having them return, whatever. And because I feel like Vince would be like, okay, so and so was signed at 3 p.m. today, show starts at 5, they're going out there, and it has no purpose.
Yeah,
So I kind of like that. And I've been critical of Triple H too because I think there are certain people right now, like Cody, that it feels like there's no immediate plan for them, and it feels kind of like that is what they're doing with Carlito. Like they just felt like he had to be sidelined because the same thing with Eric Young. They could have brought him out and he could have been a part of the Bray storyline, but they never did. So like
yeah,
that didn't make any sense to me either.
yeah. It's definitely Triple H being a lot more methodical and cerebral with his planning, which
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. You would rather that if you're a superstar, not
Yeah.
just thrown out there to make no sense. And because you're signed, we're throwing you out there. There's a plan for everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it actually, honestly, is a benefit for the fans because you don't want to just see a guy out of nowhere come out and oh, he's out there, he's here. Then the
Mm-hmm.
fans are like, well, why? Why is he out there? At least with Carlito, it's you don't question why he's out there every
Well, and
time.
I think because, if they are randomly popping up, they can also randomly go away just as quick. So, I
Exactly.
mean, I guess even another example would be Johnny Gargano. He had been cleared for months and they didn't bring him back until he could be involved with the storyline with Champa. So, and that's the most beneficial to him right now. So,
Oh
in
yeah.
some cases, it's made sense. But I think with Carlito, we probably just have to kind of like wait and see.
Yeah, but Kingdom Razor is a good comment here.
Okay, hold on.
Um,
Sorry.
oh, what? Okay. Carlito gonna be a solid U.S. champion. He looks great, and that may be the plan. With everything going on, Bobby Lashley and his interaction backstage. It could also lead to Logan Paul
I know.
injuring Ray, maybe.
I feel like
Or
Logan's gonna win, and I hate that. At Crown Jewel, I fucking hate it. Because my thing is
I love
like
it.
I hate it because are you gonna show up every single week?
Nobody's
Because
going to. Yep. No, you
I
can.
know, because I know your argument is he can show up once a month, and that's fine. That's not fine. Because I feel like you can't have the same you can't have that standard for champions on in general in WWE, but especially on SmackDown. He's not Roman Reigns, who can take off a couple weeks and come back, or take off 2 months and come back. Logan Paul is not an established WWE wrestler. He's not even that's not even one of his titles, like his job titles, despite the fact that he had them introduce him at his fake boxing match as a WWE wrestler. No, you're not, dude. You don't show up. Like, to me, it's like they already have Roman, who doesn't show up consistently. Okay, so that's your main championship that's not even showcased on a weekly basis. Then you're going to give the United States Championship, the next one below that, to another dude who only shows up sometimes. How does that make any sense? Why would any dude want to be on SmackDown? They have no titles to compete for. What would be the point?
I'm saving my comments for when we talk about it.
I'm just saying. On to nicer things.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah.
Dudley had a
One of
nice
these
little
days.
spa day. So they skipped SmackDown for a nice day to get pampered, get their nails done, a massage, a pedicure,
Oh my god, I would love
to
a pedicure right now.
to celebrate their win over the Brawling Brutes last week. But of course, it has to end abruptly because the Brawling Brutes are so mad that they lost an exhibition match. Like, that they followed them to the spa to beat them up and even put their heads in the pedicure water.
It's dirty water.
That is nasty. I don't care if it's my own feet,
No.
in the germs of my own feet on my face.
worse.
I don't like it. So obviously this means this feud is continuing. And I'm just kind of like, why? Why? Why is this still happening? Because basically they're fighting over losing to each other. That's really what the foundation is. Like, I'm mad I lost to you for the 14th time. Let's keep fighting. And it's just like I find it really annoying, and it's like I'm all for these types of feuds that happen that don't involve a championship. I say that all the time, but I feel like when it comes to this feud specifically, it's just like, okay, it's just dragging on for no reason.
Yeah, they got a squeaky clean win over the Brawling Brutes, and they shouldn't have to be fighting them. But I'm okay with it as long as it gets them on TV and we get more of these little vignettes. And if it potentially leads to a tag team title opportunity, with especially how the rest of the show panned out, kind of getting a feeling that they might be splitting up the titles here or there.
They have to.
I mean, they are planting some seeds, Sara.
And then if they do that, they need to redesign them because they are horrid.
You can't keep bringing out those red and blue. If everyone else is getting a title upgrade and you don't do anything with the tag titles, what the fuck are we doing?
Well, and there needs to be a differentiating factor between them, obviously. So I understand why they have the different leathers, but I feel like it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to have different designs. And then it just says that they're the Raw, tag team championships and the SmackDown tag team championships or something. Because I really hope that if they are going to split them, that doesn't mean they're unifying them. Because I really think that each brand, especially if they're going to be going in this direction, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, I feel like you can't get rid of them. So I'm like, and you need to make them gold. I'm sorry, but the fact that they're silver, they look secondary to the rest because they're they're dripping in gold. Where's the fucking gold? It's silver, dude. I mean, you went from copper to silver. It's time for gold.
It is time for gold. It's time to put some gold in the tag team division. So.
Then we move on to John Cena comes out, and initially he starts talking about retirement, and then you just see this overwhelming amount of people bringing up that picture of Mark Henry and his peach suit jacket because they're like, it gave us Mark Henry vibes. He was saying that it had been 2002 days or since 2018 that he had won a singles televised match in WWE, which I was like, how is that even possible? But I'm like, but it's also because that's where he's at in his career. Like, he doesn't need the wins, you know?
Yeah.
But thinking about it, like 2002, like, dang, that's a long time, you know?
That's a really long time.
So eventually he's like, oh, well, I've contemplated retirement because, you know, like, whatever, I'm just getting up in age, this and this and that. But he's like, but I can still go. I can do it. And I want to have a match. So I can get a win on TV. So whoever decides that they want to accept my challenge, they're going to get smoked. And it was like, okay. And then all of a sudden,
Bump. We taking it all.
Yeah. So Solo comes out, and it looks like he accepts the challenge.
Oh,
but
yeah,
as he's making his way to the ring, of course, Jimmy attacks him from behind, and then a masked figure emerges and goes after Jimmy. And then this figure unveils himself to be Jey Uso, too, probably the loudest pop of the night.
Other than LA Knight, maybe even more. Honestly,
yeah,
I would say more because it was so unexpected.
It's just insane, honestly. Like that many. I mean, I'm not saying that he's not likable, but it's just like crazy to me to think that like out of everybody that was on the show on SmackDown, that Jay probably got the loudest pop. Like, that's just crazy to me. I don't know. So as Jay continues to go after Jimmy because he super kicked him and whatever. Yeah, he's all like, time out, bro. Like, time out. I didn't sign up for this.
What are we doing?
Who made that order?
Who gave that order?
So John then hits the AA on Solo, and then that makes you question, are we going to see John Cena versus Solo Sikoa at Crown Jewel? Or was this like a one-off? Because we know as of right now, there's only 4 matches announced for Crown Jewel, and if we're keeping with the trend that Triple H has been doing recently, which is limiting the matches to 5 or 6, then that would be number 5. And people were just discussing it, but I feel like there's not a real basis for it. And I'm not.
At least I think there's somewhat of a basis for it, at least.
Somewhat, but like, would you want to see it?
Yeah.
See, like, I'm just not. I don't really care. Cause someone was asking about it on Twitter, and I was like, I'd rather see a Gunther match.
But. Well, yeah. If you're gonna go with that comparison, I'd much rather see Gunther defend his title. But if we're going with the continuity of stories and having the bloodline on pay-per-views, then and keeping with, you know, John Cena being a thorn in the bloodline side, Solo needs to take him out. I'm for it. I'm for that.
And I think that they said that Cena is scheduled for Crown Jewel, and that is his last appearance technically. That's through that's scheduled right now. And then of course people were like, "Oh no, what does that mean?" But then did you see what he posted on Instagram today?
He's not fucking leaving. He's not fucking leaving.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not fucking leaving.
He's not fucking leaving.
So I'm assuming because the strike is continuing that means Cena is willing to stick around for a little bit longer. And I mean, I think that opens the door for him to do something at Crown Jewel. I don't think that it necessarily means he has to, because if he's there, he's there. He can still be there in some capacity. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I don't know. We still have like 2 weeks, so
we'll see what happens. So anything.
Then we have another vignette from Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, and it appears they were clearly calling out the tag team champions, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and they are coming for those tag team titles that they have already proclaimed were cursed. But I feel like it belongs to them, because if it's cursed, then hello, go be with your witch friends. You know what I mean?
Did you get Hocus Pocus vibes from this?
I mean, it fits, right? It fits their character into the time. I mean,
So
we're like
well.
2 weeks from Halloween. You know.
Oh yeah, 1000%.
Um. So I like that they are featuring them again because they were off TV after being on TV for like 2 weeks in a row, and then they just went missing. So I am excited that they are returning. But then at the same time, it's like I hope that they're going to be used better, but I feel like we haven't really gotten any indication that that's what's going to happen because the women's tag division is still kind of disappointing. Like, as great as Chelsea and Piper are, this women's tag division hasn't really been elevated in any way. So, like,
Yeah. No, you
like
make
it's
the
like
point.
exciting because they're a legit tag team coming back, but it's like, is it going to really do anything? Because they're not even really doing anything with Chelsea and Piper as it is. So, like, how excited should we be? You know?
Do you think that they're not doing anything with them right now because they're a little nervous? I mean, a little nervous that something could happen. Like they're planning scared. Like
I know what you're saying, but I don't think that's what it is. I think that they like kind of felt forced to introduce the women's tag titles at the time that they did because there were quite a few like women's tag teams at that time. I mean, I think the Bellas were around or like were in and out at that time, but the Iconics, of course,
iconic.
So I feel like it's kind of one of those things like I was saying earlier. It felt like something that Vince introduced but didn't really have plans for. And I feel like they didn't really ever care about it because, as I've said, one of the big issues that they have with the women's division is that they always want them to be individual single stars. They never like keep women together and have them be a tag team. And that's just like who they are. Like you see, the Dudley boys, the Hardy boys, like for most of their career, they were attached to the hip and they had storied careers as tag teams before they broke off and did something else. But that's how they came into the business. That's how they were introduced to people. And so when you don't do that with the women, that's why then it starts to feel like you're randomly putting them together and trying to force this tag team on people that's not legitimate, doesn't feel authentic, and it doesn't really elevate the division. And I feel like that's part of the problem. And they then, when they do have a couple tag teams like Alba and Isla, Kaden and Katana, like they're not used. They're off TV. So it's like, I don't know what they're doing. I don't think it's out of fear. I feel like it's literally like they just don't know what to do with the women's tag division.
That's also because
there's not enough women tag teams.
No, I mean at this point the women's tag teams to elevate the division. You could argue that they could throw in Natalia and Tegan Knox just to put a team in there. And that's just not the smart idea, which they know that.
Yeah. So I think that's more of what it is, but we shall see. And we already kind of hinted at this earlier, but based off of the events of Smackdown, it feels like we are going to see the Survivor Series be more like the Survivor Series of old as opposed to War Games, which I'm kind of okay with that as long as they do it better than, in recent years when Survivor Series was just like, bleh. I do feel like War Games it doesn't necessarily need to be something that's every single year. I feel like it could kind of be like a special thing, or it maybe does become like a more so of an NXT thing and that's it. But we do see that Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis are backstage with Jey Uso and security. And this was after, obviously, that we saw Jey attacked Jimmy. And Aldis is not having it because he's like, you know what? This is my show. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? And he wants Jey to leave because you attacked my talent and you're not on my show. So he's saying that he needs to be escorted out. And then Pierce is like, okay, well, what about Jimmy? Because he did that on Raw and like nothing's happening to him. And because he was giving so much pushback, Aldis decided to fine Jey $10,000.
Yeah, you're fined.
And Pierce is like, what is going on? Like, I don't, whatever. And that was when, you know what? Okay, yeah. How about you're both
You go.
escorted out?
Well, you go too.
And then Pierce says something. Does he say something like, "Oh, it's on
Let the
now.
games begin.
Let the games begin." So we kind of knew, based on them introducing Nick Aldis as the SmackDown GM, that they were that was like the infancy of setting it up for Survivor Series to get it back to being like brand versus brand. And this just solidified it even more. And I like what they're doing. I like how it's going so far. It doesn't feel corny. It doesn't really feel forced either, like it has in years past. And I like that we do have like it's funny because I don't know that I would say that like Pierce is the good guy and Aldis is the bad guy, because I feel like they're both kind of equal in the way of like they're good when they need to be, and they're bad when they need to be, because it's not like everyone
Yeah.
loves Adam Pierce. You know what I mean?
No, they play
So
that GM role very down the middle,
yeah.
which is great for an on-screen authority figure
Mm-hmm.
that is not aligned with anyone. You know what I mean? Like there's no authority figure that is aligned with a superstar. So
Yeah.
because of that, they can be down the middle and then have the superstars based on what they are
Yeah.
react accordingly. Like Chelsea Green being a heel is
Right.
not going to agree with everything Adam Pearce says, or actually anything, not even
Well,
just
but the
anything
same
that
could be said, she wouldn't agree with a lot of what Aldis said either. And that's what I think is good
yeah.
about it, because I think that in years past when we've had GMs, it was like, they would retaliate against the people that they didn't like. And it's like, okay, like it wasn't always a bad decision, but it is
Mhm.
kind of nice for them to be a like Switzerland like person,
Yes.
because like technically that's how you should be, because if you are like the booker of the show, you shouldn't be playing favorites and like letting everybody know that you're playing favorites. So I like at least what we've seen so far,
Mhm.
that it seems like they're both getting that role, which I think is a good move.
Great move. Great move.
And then we move on to Logan Paul, who looks like he's
Well,
been
I
juicing.
would like to get some comments here. We have a lot of
Okay.
comments that I'm going
All
to
right.
kind of speed through because we are speeding through this episode. We have a lot. But Micah was there last night. Okay.
Oh, really?
Micah was there and he was part of the use and he started the
Oh,
You Still Gotta chant. We love seeing that.
when Cena gets
Um,
emotional, it makes me emotional,
oh
because
yeah.
when he said something like when they were saying thank you Cena, and he's just like kind of pauses, and then he's like, you guys don't understand like how much that means to me or whatever. And it's like I don't it's crazy, because it's like in a guy in his position, and for how long he was in that position, it's kind of hard to imagine that he didn't feel constantly like validated or appreciated or loved by the fans, but it almost feels like, because now people are viewing him so differently now that he's stepped away, and we kind of see him in spurts, and like you kind of appreciate him more, maybe because now he owns the entire arena, and like everybody is cheering for him. Maybe it hits a
Yeah.
little bit differently. I don't
Mhm.
know, but the fact that he seems to get kind of emotional about it, I'm like, how do you not know how loved you are? Like,
It's because the end is near. When the end is near, you get in your
yeah,
own head like, can I still do it and whatnot?
yeah,
And to hear the crowd still saying you still got it and thank
yeah,
you, it puts all those anxiety ridden or intrusive thoughts that you have to rest,
mm-hmm,
and you can break character in that way.
mm-hmm,
And you get the person John Cena, not Super Cena, the WWE
yeah.
superstar. It's really nice to see. Um, I just want to get to Micah's comments a little bit more. Sorry, we're playing favorites here, but when you go to the show and we're talking about the show, we need to hear. So okay, so Micah said it never sold out, and they're on fire right now, which I totally agree. I also got to speak to Bailey as she was going to her car.
Oh,
Told
cool.
Bailey to be safe. Yelled at her, telling her Sasha and her tore it up in Brooklyn, and she said, "I know." Of course, she did. And thank you means a lot. So nice little dichotomy there. Your cat poop on you. Ultimate betrayal.
I know. I know.
Aw.
I was so glad that it happened before we were streaming, because I was just like, I could not believe that it actually happened.
It would have been a hell of a clip, though. I'll tell you
No.
that. New. I'll get to Mike just quick here. Show was worth it alone to see Cena.
Yep.
Didn't think Cena would be on my bingo card. I mean, I didn't expect to see Carlito in WWE in
Mm.
2023. So everyone's
Mm-hmm.
bingo card is getting filled in some way, shape, or form. And then they got Jay
Yep.
and McIntyre in the dark match. LA Knight comes out and
Mm-hmm.
does the dummy, which I don't know why it hasn't been introduced yet. Maybe
He
just like
said that he wants it to be like organic. He doesn't want it to feel like he's trying to get another,
cheap
you know,
pop.
or like just to have another catchphrase, you know, like he wants it to happen organically so it doesn't feel like he's just trying to get it in there because people
Mm-hmm.
know about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I can see
Because
why then.
because
Yeah.
dummy wasn't supposed to be a big thing, he said, either in Impact. Like it just took off, like it wasn't meant to be anything, but
Oh,
then
now I know why. Okay, then that
yeah.
makes a lot of sense why he's holding it really close to the vessel. Um, WWE back in San Antonio March 4th. They announced pre-sale last night, which of course they did at a show, and it's already sold out. I got savings, but not touching it. That's me in WrestleMania, man. I got my change jar up there. I ain't touching any of that shit till Mania. And then he said his neighbor got free tickets
Oh,
because he met Jey Uso at a bar. So
wow.
and then the last comment we'll get to before we jump back into breaking down SmackDown, we got to get to King of Razor always asking some nonsensical questions. As the captain of all things nonsensical, we allow it in the
Mm,
show, and especially when it's me making choices like we see
mm,
here. I love it.
mhm.
I'm your agent, apparently. Okay,
Movie agent.
and yeah, I mean that's kind of in my realm. Pitts is in Hollywood. It's a thing. Uh, undefeated street hooper, dentist who falls in love with a patient, agent who hunts robots disguised as humans, or jewel thief stealing from the rich. I'm going with dentist who falls in love with a patient.
Why?
And I see you. I feel like that would just because all right. I don't the street hooper basketball. That's not you. It's
No, I
just
love me some Celtics basketball, but I am not
that's
athletically inclined.
that's what I
So,
mean. Everyone, me too. But those days are over.
oh,
Those days are
I
very
never
much
had
over.
those days.
Oh, all right.
So,
I was okay.
yeah.
And the agent who hunts robots disguised as humans, that's cool and all, but you it's in I see you in another role in that movie that's
Okay.
not the agent, more like you're the behind the scenes person.
Okay.
And Jewel Thief, you're too nice. I know.
Mm.
I don't see you stealing from
Who
the
is my
rich pulling the
patient? Giovanni
I was
Vinci.
thinking, I was legitimately, I was like, it's Vinci. It's anyone who looks like fucking Vinci, or maybe a bad guy, maybe. Oh, I already got the that moment. We'll say that moment where it happens. The two characters, where you walk in and you're like, you've had a stressful day. Maybe your cat poops on you again,
Oh my god.
and you're just like, oh, like could this day get any worse? And you see this really handsome guy sitting in the chair, and he just looks up at you and he says, "Ayo," and then like that's the moment that triggers you to like fall in love when he like hits the "Hey yo." He's got the Scott Hall hair, and you're just like, oh my god, like
Maybe.
I could see that
Oops.
for
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, back to wrestling because no, yeah, that was a good middle. That was a great middle.
All
Great job,
right.
Pitt.
Okay, so we get to Logan Paul. He goes into the middle of the ring, and I really was just, I mean, you know, he's pretty fine at being, you know, talking, I guess, because his character isn't that far off of who he actually is. He's a human being, so it sounds authentic because it probably is for the most part. But I really was not into the whole like him just taking the entire time to shit on Dylan Dennis or whatever his name is.
Yeah, kind of weird. That
For
was
his
weird. I
boxing
didn't really.
opponent, because like nobody cares. Like no one cares that you have beef with this guy because he was exposing your girlfriend or fiance. Like no one cares, and it was a fake boxing match. Let's be real. So like it just doesn't hit. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to get his shots out because he's on a different show that has a big platform, but it's like they're not audiences that cross over, so like they don't know what you're talking about.
There's not a lot of crossover there. You really have to, you have to know, like, when you go out there to cut a promo like that, you have to know your audience. You
Yeah.
can't go into real business for yourself, and I understand what you're doing, trying to do that cross promotion, but you know your audience. It ain't gonna work in San Antonio. They don't care.
Yeah. So he just kept mentioning how he won the fight, which I don't know many people that actually believe that it was a fight for more reasons than he was saying. But he talks about how he is focused on the U.S. title. He says that he's already beaten Rey Mysterio because if you remember, he partnered with The Miz and they took on Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio at Mania 38. And he says, you know what? I just defeated a deadbeat dad, and it looks like I've got my eyes on another one. And that was when Rey was like, And so he comes out, and their exchange was fine, I guess. Rey does say, hey, Logan, you do remind me of my son. And he says, you're very talented. You have all this natural ability, but you have a big mouth. And he does end up accepting Logan's challenge for the U.S. title at Crown Jewel. They end by shaking hands. And my main takeaway is, why does it feel like Logan Paul is going to win?
Okay, I've been waiting for this, Sarah.
I feel like I'm going to want to virtually punch you.
You probably are. But you know what? That's fine. It's not the first time. And here's why. They want to expose WWE and they want to get the name out there, brand, whatever. And by putting the U.S. title on him, he's going to go everywhere, be on these show, appearances, media appearances, other worlds. And to have this, I mean, for instance, why do you think I have this? You know what? This is a great example of connecting worlds. So my own U.S. title here, all right? This isn't just the title of the Champ of the Peeps or whatever. This is the Gillette Gazette title, Champ of the Patriot Peeps. But you see the Patriot Show logo that I have Gillette Gazette on here, and it's kind of a little behind the scenes to get you to be like, what's the Gillette Gazette? You follow that, boom, there you go. And that's why I bring it out to other places. That's why I go to Patriots games with it, so people see it, so that, it sparks and then go look at it and then look it up. And that's all what they're doing. It's a business move, not a wrestling move at the end of the day. I personally don't agree with it 100% because of the trajectory wrestling's going right now. I think you should put it on another person, a wrestler, to get that exposure. But if you want to really cross over into that pop culture realm and get the casual fan to watch instead of the diehards like us and the peeps in the chat, then that's why they do it.
They're not watching.
I know. I mean, it's the hope.
I'm just saying they're not even gonna watch because Logan gets a title. Like, it's just it's not the same audience.
It's not.
But
it's not. But.
I mean, and it's like I think that people are getting the wrong idea about why I'm so against it, because obviously I'm not a fan of Logan Paul, the person. So
that's not your basis for it. I know that.
Yeah. So mine is just that, SmackDown does not need another part-time champion. They already have. I mean, it's possible that Roman will kick up his schedule again now that we're getting, closer to Royal Rumble, which then becomes the Mania season. So we might be seeing him more consistently, but we're still only in October. So you can't really say for sure right now. But if we're expecting it to still be sporadic appearances by the champion, then I feel like it's such a bad idea to put a title on another part-timer, because then you don't have any titles being showcased on your show. So I don't care really if Logan won, as long as he was like dedicating his time the way that like Cena is. Cena is showing up on SmackDown every single week, even if he's not wrestling, even if he's not doing a whole lot other than, just appearing on camera. He's still there. And I feel like that is something that I feel like they would need to have locked in from Logan, because like he can't just be showing up at one Smackdown a month as champion. Like, that's not going to work. And
Yeah.
as we've said before, he's not a guy that needs a title to be legit. Like, people already people who hate him the most can't say he's not good in the ring. He is good
Oh,
in
he's
the
very
ring.
good in the
It's
ring,
not
yeah.
an argument, but it's more about the consistency and the desire to be a professional wrestler, as opposed to using something as a prop, and that's kind of like what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That it feels like a prop, and they want to use it as a prop, which I disagree with that logic.
Well, because it's like, I understand the business side, like you said, but they already have an avenue to get people to start watching, because Logan has wrestlers on his podcasts all the time.
All the
He
time.
talks about wrestling. I mean, he mentioned Rey Mysterio in the United States Championship after a boxing match, which was like broadcasted to whoever who knows who,
Everyone
millions of
knows Rey
people.
Mysterio.
Right. And
That was a smart move out of him because everyone
yeah,
knows who Rey Mysterio is.
yeah, but then it's like he has these interviews on his channel, and it's like they have the constant mention of their company from him. Does he really need a title on his shoulder, like, to bring more people in? I don't think so. um but like I said,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I don't care if Logan got a title. It's more about just being consistent, and especially if this were on Raw, maybe I would feel a little bit differently,
Yeah, because
but
you
it's
already
on
have
SmackDown.
Gunther and you have Seth and
Right.
you have
So
people. Yeah.
yeah, that would be different. But um anyway, so then we have A-Town Down Under versus Cameron Grimes and Dragon Lee. I would say it was a fine match. Basically just kind of felt more of a reason to get A-Town Down Under more heat, and to get Dragon Lee and Cameron Grimes on TV, because they are both amazing wrestlers, characters, everything. And so we know that A-Town Down Under got a win, and that's seemed like the point. But I'm gonna say this like every single time until it becomes a thing. But I really want to see more Cameron Grimes.
Oh, I do. He was incredible in that match. He was really good in the ring. That
He's
move where it was a crossbody and it felt like it was going to be a double crossbody into a, spot where the refs double counting and all
mhm,
that, but you
mhm,
turn into like a Spanish fly flip in a way
mhm.
like that was incredible. That
Well,
was
and he was like
incredible.
such a big character in NXT.
Big
So
fixture, yeah.
I mean, I know that a lot of that was spent alongside LA Knight, and so I understand like he's not going to want to play second fiddle always, because like, especially when you're now, LA Knight is even bigger than he was in NXT, so like he's not going to look like anything doing segments with
Mhm.
him. But I feel like, I don't know, Grimes is just interesting, and like I feel like we should get more opportunities to see him not even just wrestle, but and be involved in segments, to actually have a storyline, have a feud. Like, that would be nice. And I'm gonna complain about it until it comes to fruition, because I've said this so many times. I can't even tell you how many times we've said this on here.
You said it a lot. We have said it a lot. We have said it a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Then we get to the Kevin Owens interview, which was just a little taped interview of him and Kathy Kelly. And she was asking him about being traded, because we haven't heard from him since he was officially added to SmackDown last week.
Mhm.
And he just kind of repeated what Sammy said for the most part, was that he was bummed about being separated from Sammy because of how long it had taken them to get into that position and to win the tag team titles, blah, blah, blah. But he does feel like moving to SmackDown was a clean slate. And what I thought was really cool, because this interview didn't really do anything. Like, I don't even have to
Yeah.
mention it, but there were two things that I thought were the most interesting. One was him mentioning the guys that he's looking forward to wrestling, because he has never wrestled Rey Mysterio in a singles match. He says he's also never wrestled Sheamus or the Brawling Brutes in a singles match, which is kind of crazy to think
It
about.
is crazy. No, it absolutely is crazy that he's been in the company that long and not to have a match with Rey Mysterio. That is crazy.
Well, because like when Edge said, that he wanted his final match to be with Sheamus because they had never wrestled each other, that made more sense because of how long Edge had been away.
Yeah.
So like that made sense because it was like, okay, yeah, you guys never crossed paths. But like to think about Kevin Owens not, being here that entire time and just not having wrestled any of these people, I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I like that because I feel like that is really exciting. And I think that people don't really think about those things unless
No, they don't.
it's
Yeah.
obvious that that they've never wrestled each other, or like when Asuka and Io wrestled each other for the first time, like they were really telling you like over and over and over again. But I feel like that makes it more interesting than just being like, okay, yeah, it's Kevin Owens versus Sheamus. Like, okay. But it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like they've never actually done it. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, when there's a little substance there.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. I
And
agree
then
with that.
the other thing that I would say is that he ends his little interview by saying that he wants people to know that SmackDown is the Kevin Owens show. And I was
Damn
like,
right it
ooh.
is.
I was like, oh, those are some fighting words because there's a
Oh,
few people on SmackDown that believe that it's their show. So it kind of made me wonder, like, are they really going to have him go after Roman again? Like, is that going to be something that they do? And they'll be like, it's 2 years later. Who cares? Like,
the only way I could see that is if he's going after Roman to build up Survivor Series.
yeah. So I don't know. Those are just the little tidbits. But then we get into the main event, which was Io Sky versus Charlotte Flair for the women's championship. And just like I said to you, my friends, before we recorded, I just want to see if anyone that is watching can explain to me what exactly Charlotte was doing when they were introducing Io Sky. Because Charlotte gets introduced first because she's the challenger. She does her thing with her arms out, like, look at me, I'm the queen, I'm all this, I'm all that, I'm all that in a bag of chips, bitch. Like, look at me, and does her spin. And then as they're introducing Io, she like almost is getting in her face, doing the same thing, not allowing Io to step forward because that's what she likes to do. And then she like abruptly just runs the ropes. I'm just like, you're muted. You're muted.
I'm going back. I'm sorry, I was blowing my nose. I'm going back to the tape and
Oh,
checking
so you can
this
see
out.
it?
And so I can see it real time.
I watched it again today because I didn't watch the match last night because I was like, I'm tired and I want to pay attention to this match. So if I watch it right now, I'm not going to
You're
pay
gonna
attention.
you're gonna pull a
Yeah.
Pep Hits and fall fucking asleep
Yeah.
when you really
So
need to in the main event. Yeah, no, that's
yeah.
great. That's really
So
great, champ stuff.
yeah, so I did see the beginning, like when they were introduced. I just didn't watch the match. So then I saw it again today because I was telling my sister, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what is she doing? Because it just felt so like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it just made me feel awkward because I was like, why are you making this moment about you? Like, and it's
Yeah.
not like she did anything that was like super obnoxious or anything, but it was like, you were already introduced. Why are you not allowing Io to just be introduced now?
Charlotte Flair does look good though.
All right, let's put your
All
tongue
right,
back in your mouth.
I can appreciate beauty when it's in front of me. All right, that's what
Alrighty.
a champion does.
Just,
Okay, she's doing her thing. All right, so that's fine. She's doing the whole "I'm the queen," bow down, stare down. That's okay. That's what she does. All right. All right, does the rope thing. That's okay.
no,
Just
but why?
I'm hold on. The rope thing at first after is um
Yeah, you
Io
can't explain it because it was really
Sky.
weird. I just felt
Hold
like it
on,
was really
so
unnecessary. And yeah, old man mob, she's a Flair. What do you expect? Exactly. It's just
yes, like what?
I'm going to live and die by saying this, and I could be 100% wrong, but my impression is that Charlotte Flair is in business for herself. So she does not give a single flying fuck what is going on as long as it's about her. She doesn't care. So that's
She definitely
basically
has zero friends in the back. I don't.
yeah, I don't know if when I saw wedding photos, I don't know if I saw a single woman there. I think there were men there, but they're friends with Andrade. I don't think that they were friends with her. That tells you a lot. Also, she was connected at the hip with Becky Lynch. And this is my theory. And I've said this before, but I have more of a theory now. She strikes me as the type that likes to befriend people, especially like, you know, like, I mean, she's Charlotte Flair now. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? I feel like, yeah, she was friends with Becky, but she strikes me as the type that likes to befriend people that she views to be less than her, or she doesn't feel like she'll ever be in competition with. And so it feels to me like she felt like Becky was never going to get to her level because she was already so far ahead of Becky. Because, you know, obviously Becky's stardom took longer.
Yeah.
And I think the second that shit happened, friend breakup. The second that Becky didn't need to do shit to get a, you know, a crowd to love her, that was when Charlotte dipped out. And so I think that's the type. Like, I don't know if you've ever come around those types of people, but
All the time. What are you talking about? That was my college experience.
Yeah.
No,
well,
I didn't mean it in like a.
Yeah, I just
way,
mean like
but
that's how she comes off to me, because it's like I don't understand how you can work for a company for over 10 years and not have a single friend. You know what I mean? Like, and she could be a decent person. I just don't get that vibe from her. And now I'm going on a tangent. But anyway, that just solidified it even more to me with her behavior before, because it was like she doesn't view Io as an equal. You know what I mean? So she's like, I don't care what I do if I'm distracting, whatever. Io is not on my level. That's like how it felt to me. But
I've been fast forwarding this, and oh man, that spot where Bayley puts the foot. That's one of my favorite spots in wrestling. Is
she
the
did a really
manager
good job
taking
in this one though. Yeah. She did a good job on that though, because it was like, you know, the ref really didn't see.
Did not. No, he did not. He did not see anything. But I also, all right, and then they fight in the back in the side of the ring. I want to see Bayley Charlotte more. Like, that's the feud I want.
We'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
So I would just want to say that it was a really good match. I would say it's probably one of the better ones of Io's title reign so far, which isn't surprising, because did you notice that they did a hype video for Charlotte during the show? And I was just like, why does she need a hype video? And in it, this is another reason why
it's just another Friday for me.
That made me so angry, because it's just like when she's like, when people step into the ring with me, they have the best match of their career. But for me, it's just another Friday night. I want to be like, you, like, humble yourself. Humble yourself.
It's a great line.
That's wonderful. But again, does that come off like a baby face?
I don't think I feel like we're really, I think we're microscoping looking at that she's a baby face.
She's a baby face. I'm telling you. But she doesn't. I told you. I've said this to you since the beginning. She is not a good baby face because she's not likable. She's not a likable person because of a lot of what she does. That's just who she is. Because like a lot of it is not even necessarily her fault. Probably, I think a lot of it does come from the fact that her dad is Ric Flair, who has been said for decades to be the greatest of all time. And then he passed that on to his daughter, you know, who then became like the chosen one in NXT by Vince McMahon and Triple H. And that inflated her head. It's like the Aaron Rodgers syndrome. Like the media has fed into your ego so much that you start to believe your own hype. And so I think that's her problem, is that like she doesn't have an ounce of humility, because she does believe that she is the greatest of all time. She does believe she's better than everyone. She does believe that she deserves everything that she has gotten and more. And that makes it hard to like her, honestly. But anyway.
I don't why go to the next go to that next topic part, because I do have a question about this.
Okay. So anyway, it was a good match. Like I said, probably one of the better ones of Io's reign. Io hits Charlotte with the title from behind, which caught me off guard because you really didn't see what she hit her with. It just looked like a really awkward spot until you finally were like, oh, okay, no, she had the title. And then she gets the win. Damage Control then starts beating up Charlotte after the match, which then prompts Bianca Belair to return, and she comes in to save Charlotte from Damage Control, which makes sense to a degree because the last time that we saw Bianca was at SummerSlam, right? I believe it was SummerSlam. And it was the triple threat, her versus Asuka versus Charlotte for the women's championship. Bianca won and then was quickly cashed in on by Io. So her having beef with Io or Damage Control, sure, okay, whatever, that makes sense, I guess. But what's up with her pairing with Charlotte? That caught me off guard a little bit because they were beefing before because they were like, I deserve a rematch. No, I deserve a rematch. And they were like fighting each other about who deserved the rematch and who should be champion and this and that. And now they're allies. I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm soaking it all in. And from what I'm gathering is this was Bianca making a statement to Damage Control rather than Bianca helping Charlotte. And if you notice, here's one thing I want to point out. And I was rewatching it again today and to get some points here. Did you notice Montez and Bianca's gear were very similar in color?
Yeah, but it wasn't gear. It was an outfit.
That was an outfit?
Yeah, she didn't have wrestling boots on. I know. I originally thought that it was gear, but she did not. I don't think she had wrestling boots on.
But regardless, so my point is that
I know
she's aligning herself or aligning.
Maybe.
What if she goes into the Hurt Business?
It's possible. The suit profits. How dare you? You also have to remember that you have to remember that she makes her own gear and she does often make his as well. So it could just be like a coincidence. But
husband, wife, girlfriend,
right.
whatever,
but I wouldn't be mad about it because we've talked about it for months that it would be nice for that to be a thing. You know, especially with the LWO, they have
Zelina.
They have a woman there as well. Judgment Day has a woman. And we know Judgment Day is going to be appearing on SmackDown sporadically because they are tag champs until at least they split them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, that could be cool. But I was kind of disappointed because I really just was hoping that Bianca would be kind of past this at this point because I think for the most part, people have already forgotten about like what went down the last time that we saw her. So I was kind of hoping that if she was going to return, it was going to be for something else. But I mean, people were excited and she looked gorgeous, dude.
She looked unbelievable. She is so beautiful.
I know. So
naturally
I was like,
just gorgeous.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited that she's back because I do think that it is cool to have her on the roster when all these other girls are active because it seems like when she was around last time there was a lot of girls that were injured, so we weren't really seeing like the consistency of the women's division on SmackDown. And then of course the teases of Jade can now include Bianca.
It's already been seen.
I know, but I'm saying we can actually see it on screen now, maybe.
Ooh.
I still think Jade needs to be a free agent. If she either needs to be a free agent, and I'm like, part of me is like she needs to go on Raw, but then I was like, at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if that's a smart decision because it's like she doesn't have that many people she can compete with. So that's why I was saying she needs to be a free agent so she can go to Raw and go to SmackDown whenever she wants.
And well, I'll pose this question to you: What about Kairi Sane?
I know. I mean, I think. Because see, this is the thing. This is the problem. It's like, we were talking about it the other day where when it comes to top talent on Raw and SmackDown, Raw has like two women right now that are top talent, Rhea and Becky. Becky is doing
How dare you not include Nia Jax?
All right. And so like, there's a huge discrepancy there between Raw and SmackDown. And so
There is.
the obvious answer is like, okay, any women that are coming, they need to go to Raw because Raw needs more women. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, and then they still don't really have anyone to compete with. So it's like it's such a weird thing to try and figure out because it's like Jade going to SmackDown would be cool. She could do it with Bailey, Bianca, Charlotte, Asuka, Io, right? And it's like, so technically she doesn't need to be there, but it would be sick to see her against all those women. So then if she goes to Raw, then we need to deal with her going against Nia, Shayna, Zoe, Raquel. Like, no disrespect to them, but they're not on the same level as those other girls that I just mentioned. So it's weird, and that's why I feel like she needs to be a free agent because she can go and have a feud with Becky or Rhea, then she can go to SmackDown and have a feud with Bianca, then she can go back to Raw and have a feud with someone else, or even NXT. Like, it would be pretty cool, I feel like, if she just bounced around.
Now, if she bounced around, would that enhance her
I
as
feel
a
like, yeah.
talent?
This is the
I
thing.
don't think it would make her less of a talent.
I
Put it that
think it
way.
would
I don't
make
think it would.
her
Yeah.
I think it would make her feel larger than life because there's no other woman that's going from show to show. And if she's going to Raw and having a feud there, she's going to SmackDown and having a feud there, even maybe going down to NXT having a feud there, not necessarily all at the same time, but if she's like bouncing around, to me, you're one exposing her to the most amount of people as possible. Because I guess there are some people who only watch Raw or only watch SmackDown out there, or maybe I guess only watch NXT. So you're really limiting your audience if you have her only on one show. Plus, I
Yeah.
feel like it makes her feel like a bigger star because like like I said, there's no other woman that's doing that. So if she's able to appear on all of these shows and still be like essentially a main event, then what? I don't see the problem. And
Yeah.
you know, she's not green, but compared to the other women, she is green. She's only been wrestling for a few years. So I don't think that it's a bad idea for her to be able to like wrestle girls on all the shows. I feel like that could only be good for her and the company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Where's the comment here? King Razor. So basically, Charlotte is Thor if he never learned the lesson of arrogance. I totally agree with that.
I don't know what that means, but yeah, I agree.
You need to start Kingdom Eraser. I'm so happy you said this because I've been thinking about this. Sarah, to end the show, I wanted to say this, a little tease, that we got football season right now, so our weekends are just hectic. We go from
Celtics next
wrestling.
week. Celtics next week.
Well, that doesn't really play in, but yes, we got Celtics next week. Whatever,
I was
it's
just
great.
saying in general. I can't believe it's next week. Is all I meant.
That does seem crazy to me too. So I was thinking that you and I each day we take a Marvel movie and we watch it because we need to expose you to the Marvel universe. I'm seeing so many comparisons and similarities, parallels, tomato, potato, whatever, between that and wrestling that I really think, and with our audience, with
Is
our peeps here,
Superman DC or Marvel?
that's DC. I mean, we can watch those too. I don't fucking care. I need to
Henry
get in the
Cavill
DC.
is my Superman.
I mean, I need to get in the DC universe, so I mean, I'll watch those.
I've
I'm
heard
not.
his movies are bad though, not because he's bad, but because the
No,
scripts were
it's
bad
DC. It's
and they fucked
DC.
him over. Yeah.
They did. They're not as cohesive.
Henry Cavill is the epitome of Superman, and you really did not have him like have an Oscar worthy performance as Superman. Like, if you literally took like the comic book version of Superman and made it into a real human, it's Henry Cavill minus the fact that he's British. But it's like essentially he is like, yeah, do I want that man to save me? Hell yeah. Am I gonna jump up my window so that he comes and saves me? Hell yeah. Am I gonna put myself in dangerous situations to ensure that Superman is flying my way? Yeah, if he looks like that.
We need to watch those because because I got exposed to it with Kyle in Underground, and once he exposed it to me, and then thank God for my breakup so I could get back into wrestling. That I get into it, and once I now start at that stage, I'm like, ooh, there are a lot of similarities here, and it only helps my knowledge, and that's what we're trying to do here. Sorry, it's Champ of the Peeps. We just want to help not only you, but all the peeps out
All
in the
right.
world. So we'll get there, and I need to get back into it too. So it'll be a good little thing. I have so many shows I gotta watch too. That I'm
I'm
being
catching
caught
up
to.
on Law and Order Organized Crime right now.
I'm big on crime shows
Have
right
you watched
now.
Organized Crime? Law and Order?
No, no. There's one show, The Irrational.
Have you watched Interrogation Raw on A&E?
No,
That is insane. It's
they,
like it's
yeah.
all like raw footage of interrogations of people, and oh my god. And it's like they're crazy murderers, you know? Like I
Oh
think
yeah,
one of the more recent episodes was about a cannibal.
those still
Yeah.
exist. I
You
totally
know,
forgot about
oh yeah,
those.
but I think he only had killed, and I'm not saying only, but he had
He only
actually
killed like 4 people.
no one guy.
Oh, it was only one. It's
I
fine.
know I don't mean only, but I meant like he tried to do it, I guess, to 2 other people, and then it only actually happened once, and then he was trying to tell them that like this is what the guy wanted, like that he actually wanted that to happen. But then it was like he was talking about it like he was talking about like, oh, I went to the grocery store today and I picked up a box of Apple Jacks and then I got some bananas. Like he was just talking about it like that. And he's literally saying like, oh yeah, I just took a like a section of a skin and I fried it, put some Worcestershire sauce on it, and then I like that's what he was saying, but he was talking about it like that. And then I'm like, maybe I won't watch this one. But again, it's like that kind of thing scares me, so that is like gross. But I was just
That's
like,
too much for
those
me.
are the type of people that still exist in this world.
I know we live in a fucked up world.
People that are watching right now are like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, how do we get from Bianca Belair?
Why are you
Jade
talking about
Cargill-
fried skin with Worcestershire? I'm also just trying to say Worcestershire so I can tell you guys how to say it, because I am so sick of watching the Food Network and listening to people who call themselves chefs and they can't even say the word. Worcestershire?
Yeah,
or
I deal with stupid chefs.
Worcestershire?
I deal with stupid chefs all day, so
I know,
I'm
but
with you.
that hurts me so bad. Like one guy last night when I was watching Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, he first of all he said supposedly, okay,
Oof.
supposedly, and then Worcestershire, and I was like, no. But anyway, okay, I need to stop talking because people are gonna be like, unsubscribe. This girl started talking about fried skin, and I just checked out.
I don't play.
Unsub.
I mean, it was the end of the show. This is where, if you want to stick around and talk shop, that's great. But yeah, wow, we live in a fucked up world.
Yeah.
And in this fucked up world, you can find us on YouTube. That's where you're watching mostly now. I'm pandering to the Twitter peeps, but you Sarah Marshall WWE on YouTube. Go check it out. That's where all our
I promise
clips
we
are.
won't have more of those conversations.
No, we don't talk about fried skin with Worcestershire sauce. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about cats pooping on me either.
Well, that's not up to us. That's up to
No.
the heel that's in your room right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
We're at like 200 something watch hours before we can get monetized. So please help us out. That would be awesome. And it would mean a lot. That would be really fucking cool if that happens. So please subscribe, hit that
36.
Yeah, see, dude, like that's incredible. So please help us get there. Check out all our stuff, and go
Tell all your
follow us.
friends.
And tell all your friends. All right, like I'm telling my friends. I even told today before we hopped in the show. I was rewatching LA Night came on. I was like, Ben, if there was, because he's not into it, he watched it years ago, and obviously everyone did. But I was like, if there was a guy that you would like, it would be LA Night. Like that's where we're the trend we're trending upwards to. So tell your friends, tell all the peeps about it, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So we'll be back on Tuesday for the Raw Rewind. Check us out on Twitter at Pat_Pitts and at SMarshik. So if you're a football fan, we got Sunday football tomorrow. And as you see by my nice championship belt here, we are the Patriot peeps over here. So we'll be watching the Pats. Go check out my stuff, Patriot stuff. Gillette Gazette on YouTube. It's under the Stadium Rant on YouTube. Go check out Sara firing the muskets over at Musket Fire and her content, pumping that shit out. like 60 something articles. Sarah, you're putting in more work over the Patriots than I am, so we got to give you credit there. Go check her out there. And yeah, everyone have a great Sunday into Monday Raw, and we'll be back on Tuesday for the Raw Rewind. God bless, and remember that you can do it. All I got to do is try. We will see you Tuesday.